I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a 15-year-old girl named Gregg, who, when she was 14 years old, did something that will define the rest of her life. It wasn't something that was expected. It wasn't something that was necessarily predictable, but it was something that was deadly. Here's her story. 14-year-old Gregg was a really good student. In fact, she was Student of the Year at Northwest Rankin High School in Brandon, Mississippi. Carly's mom, Ashley Smiley, was a teacher at the school. For most moms, this would be an ideal situation, being close to your child who is excelling in school. But inside their home and inside the mind of Gregg, everything wasn't okay. She was battling serious issues that seemingly manifested themselves one day inside the home. Carly allegedly went to her mother's bedroom armed with a gun. She discharged that weapon 3 times, taking the life of her mother. Then, in a bizarre twist, she allegedly contacted a friend to see if she wanted to see a dead body. Her friend came over. Then, when her stepfather returned home, she fired the gun again, wounding him. He survived and described Carly as having eyes so big it was as if she'd seen a demon. It is something to see her inside of the courtroom. She's 15, looks even younger than 15, but you think about these allegations. And the one miraculous part of the story is that her stepfather survived to tell the story and survived to call 911 to begin this entire case and this investigation. I want you to take a listen to some testimony from investigator Zachary Cotton here, talking about the stepfather and what he did. Let's take a listen.
Our dispatcher received a call. The person on the phone was frantic. The exact details were not clear, but it was something to the effect that their child had shot at them and shot them in the neck. Deputies responded to the scene, were met with a male at the door, and found a deceased female inside of one of the bedrooms.
What if anything did officers observe on that?
He was upset. He had been shot in the shoulder, and he had said that his stepdaughter was the one that had the firearm, that he got the firearm away from her.
And was, at that time, did he identify the shooter?
Yes.
What's the person's name of the shooter?
Gregg.
Was Miss Gregg on the scene at that time?
No, sir, not at the residence.
Okay. What was the next thing that happened?
Deputies were attempting, and law enforcement in general were trying to observe the area to see if they could locate the suspect, Carly. She was later found approximately half a mile down the road and taken into custody.
Chaotic situation. Really chaotic. And again, amazing that the stepfather survived this, can make that call so investigators can respond, police can respond, EMT can respond. But it leaves me with my first question about inside of that home. And it's a big question. It's an important question. What happened? My goodness, what happened inside of that house? I want to bring in my special guest who knows a lot about what happened. Mississippi blogger known as Jackson Jambalaya, who's been following the case since day one. James Hendricks is with us. All right, James, thanks so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Let me start with that question about what happened here.
Thank you.
Take us back, because you've been to all the hearings, you've been covering this in depth. Inside the home that day, take us, what's happening before the gun is first fired?
Well, the investigator testified at her preliminary hearing that they came home from school. Daughter takes out the dogs, and the mother went to her daughter's bedroom and removed some objects. Now, I've heard different things of what those could be: her cell phone, a vape pen, whatever, who knows. So, but she removed some objects. Daughter comes in, Carly does, and sees her mom removing with these objects in her hand. She goes into her mom's room, retrieves a firearm, think it was a .38 pistol and revolver, and comes back and shoots her 3 times, 2 in the face, 1 in the chin. And then she texts her father, as you know, and says, "Hey, when are you coming home?" And then she calls a friend of hers, "Hey, I need you to come over here." And so her friend, oddly enough, was not old enough to drive, so her father brought her over. Her father stays in the car. Her friend comes in, and she just nonchalantly shows off her mother's corpse to her friend. Like, look what I've done.
Is there any known history, or do we? It seems very all of a sudden, right? But was there tension in the home? Were there issues? Were there other calls? Anything like that? That's become
not that I know of. The police had not been out to their house before. She was, by all accounts, a good student at school. I mean, she had her friends. She was being a teenager. Very, very smart, obviously. 30 on the ACT when she was 13 years old. Skipped a grade. Mother was a very popular math teacher at Northwest Rankin. So this, I mean, we don't know what was going on behind closed doors, but this caught everybody by surprise. Of course, after she's murdered, then we start finding out, okay, she's been on these psychiatric drugs, according to her defense lawyers, for quite some time. They switched her to love days before the murder took place. So, you know, right now we're just speculating.
And how about the family situation? Now it's a stepfather, right? So mom got remarried. Is her father in the picture at all? Have we heard anything about that?
From what I can tell, he's not involved in the picture. In fact, I looked at the court records in another county last week where they divorced, and the mother and father are still slugging it out in court. She had filed some motion to modify whatever. I forget what the pleading was or judgment was, but she files a motion all the way up until her death. They were still fighting it out in court.
Fascinating.
And then apparently she had filed a case against him in justice court. That's your misdemeanors, your small claims courts in Mississippi. And so she'd filed something over there in Warren County, which is Vicksburg. And so there was stuff going on there. I just haven't had a chance to get over there and dig up the records and look at them. But there was obviously the two parents did not get along.
Now,
So,
how is this playing? Yeah, how is this playing locally? My guess is a relatively small town, small community. The mom worked in the high school where the daughter went, right?
Right. Well, it's in Flowood, Mississippi. Flowood is a suburb of Jackson, Mississippi. It's fairly upscale, town of about 12,000 people, but it's not what you would call a typical small town. Just consider Arlington to Dallas. You see what I mean? So, but it blew everybody away. I mean, Jackson is next door, and it's had the highest murder rate in the country for like the last 2 or 3 years. And so you're always hearing about murders and homicides, and unfortunately, too many of them are teens committing murders, and I'm talking 13, 14, 15. But so when you hear about it in a poverty-stricken area, okay, let's be honest, everybody kind of has gotten to where they're used to hearing it all the time. They don't get as outraged. But when you hear about something like this, a kid so gifted, a mother who's a popular teacher, and then all of a sudden the kid just snaps and just kills her. It didn't just kill her. She's showing her off to her friends, and then she's going to lay in wait to kill her stepfather too.
Wow.
And my theory on that, why it didn't work, is because she's using a 38. That's probably a 12-pound trigger pull, which, as you know, is a lot. That's pretty strong. And a small girl like that probably was going to have problems with it. Thank goodness for the stepfather.
Yeah, he was able to wrestle it away. I want to take a listen to more testimony from investigator Zachary Cotton here, talking about what the surveillance cameras apparently caught.
There's a exterior camera. It's in the garage. Shows the Carly and her mother actually arrive home. There's another camera that's located in the kitchen. The kitchen camera shows that after they walk into the residence, that at some point Ashley goes into Carly's bedroom. Carly goes outside with the dogs. Eventually, Carly comes back in after Ashley's taking some items out of Carly's room. Carly walks back in, notices her mother is in the bedroom, and then proceeds to walk in the direction where Ashley and Heath's bedroom is. You see her come back into view of the camera. She has her hands concealed behind her back, out of view of the camera. She looks into the kitchen and then proceeds to walk into her bedroom, and then you hear a gunshot, a scream, followed by 2 more gunshots. Carly proceeds to return to the kitchen, concealing her hands behind her back. You hear a heavy object being set down on the counter, and then she proceeds to get Ashley's phone and begins texting on it.
Do you know who she was texting?
I believe it was Heath, based off of the text messages that he received.
The text message that appeared that she was the first day in her dead body.
Yes,
And what was the substance of those texts?
essentially asking about how long it would be till he got home.
So James, it sounds to me like she's using her mother's cell phone to lure her stepfather home, impersonating her
Right.
via text message?
Correct. Correct. That's exactly what she did. She got her mother's cell phone, and so he sees the call coming through. He thinks it's his wife. I mean, or the text coming through. When you coming home, I'm going to be home then. And then she prepares to, or tries to kill him.
That, I mean,
And then of course, what I can't get over is having the friend come over to just show her off like he got a trophy or something. I mean, who does that? I mean, that's pretty warped when you think about it.
that is extremely, I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out the appropriate
I mean,
words, because
right.
she's so young, smart though, but at the same time that is cold, that is sociopathic, I think is the best way to describe that behavior, inserting your friend in the middle of all of this. All right, here's what we're gonna do. James, you're gonna stay with us because we need him. He knows this story better than anyone. Coming up next, why did she show her friend?
Called yesterday for purpose. She showed her deceased mother to a friend.
Was a reporter brutally murdered for digging too deep?
His death was absolutely devastating.
The suspect, the former politician and subject of the victim's story on corruption.
Can you tell us anything?
Now will Robert tell us go from elected official to convicted killer?
Once all the evidence comes out, it'll be clear as day.
Is it possible that bad press is a motive for murder?
The investigative reporter murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
How did the friend go?
She was driven over there by her father.
Why was she
Called yesterday to come over.
you know, for what purpose?
She showed her deceased mother to a friend.
You showed her to see them.
Yes.
You know why she asked her over there?
Not entirely sure. She just said it's an emergency. I need you to come over.
Carly Gregg, after allegedly shooting and killing her mother, like 3 shots, then contacts her friend and says, there's an emergency, come over. So her friend's father apparently drives her over to the house. So now you've got 14-year-old Carly Gregg with her friend from school, apparently, in the house with her mother's body on the ground, shot and killed, shot 3 times. Here's the investigator describing what takes place next inside that house with these 2 children.
She essentially stated that she was invited over to the residence by Carly, was unsure what for. That she had walked in. Carly asked her if she had ever seen a dead body before. She said no. Proceeded to show her deceased mother that was in the bedroom. Showed the gun that she used to shoot her mom. Told that she had 3 shots for her mom, and then she's got 3 more for her stepdad, 2 to the head, 1 to the chest.
Have you ever seen a dead body before? And then proceeds to show her friend a dead body, her mother's body on the ground. Brings me to my next question in this case. Why did she show her friend? What's going on there? What motivated that action by Carly Gregg? Still with me, James Hendricks, and joining us, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author and columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I'll begin with you. Why call your friend to come over? And then why show her the dead body?
Good question, Vinny. You know, one thing that it makes me think of is that she has, apparently some of her friends said that she has been talking about for quite a while that she wanted to kill her mother. And nobody really took it seriously, presumably because, you know, she was such a good student and so on. You know, it didn't seem like someone who would shoot their mother. But so perhaps one reason was to show them that, yes, see, I was really serious. Nobody believed me, but look, I did shoot her. And so then the question is, well, why did she shoot her? And there are a couple, I have a number of theories for that. One is that her mother.
Well, before we get into the shooting, Dr. Carol,
sure.
I want to get a few more details from James about this friend coming over. Do we know anything about the nature of their relationship, their history? These two are, I presume they're classmates.
Classmates. The police have been very tight-lipped about it. They just said she calls the friend, come on over here. Father takes her over there. Father don't know how long she was inside the house. And so eventually she leaves before the stepfather gets home. Now, the father and the daughter did go to the sheriff's office that night and make a statement. Do I know, they never said if it happened immediately or if it was after they heard about the murder or what. So we just don't know. I mean, you're asking why she showed her friend. That's one of several million-dollar questions in this case, believe me.
Absolutely. I want to put up on the screen for you. Everybody's wondering. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want to put this up. This is from the affidavit for a search warrant. And the names has been redacted, but the friend stated that when she had arrived at Carly's residence, that Carly had already killed her mother. The friend stated that Carly asked if she wanted to wait outside and that her stepdad, Heath Smiley, was about to be home. The friend stated that she waited outside a short time after Heath returned home. She heard 3 gunshots. The friend stated that Carly ran out of the door into the backyard and they both climbed over the fence and ran from the scene. So Dr. Carol Lieberman, for that friend who is injected into this by Carly, what are your concerns for her as she has to somehow try to understand all of this?
Well, you know, to the extent that Carly told her friend what her plan was to kill her father, you know, one has to wonder why the friend didn't call 911 or didn't run away before they both ran away together. I mean, clearly the friend is going to probably feel some guilt. She's going to be traumatized. She's going to be angry at Carly for involving her. You know, Carly was apparently just singing to her dogs before the friend came over. So on the one hand, she's telling the friend this is an emergency. On the other hand, she's acting like it's not an emergency. She's playing and singing to her dogs. But that friend is, of course, going to be incredibly traumatized by all of this.
And James, an important witness, right? There's video evidence of this, but now she is there for this second shooting.
Yeah, apparently so. I'll be honest, I didn't know that before, so that was a good piece of information to bring out. One thing she said, though, about how detached she was, she's just singing. The first time I saw her in court, it was at her preliminary hearing. She comes in there before the hearing starts. She's sitting in the jury box where they seat all the inmates for such proceedings. And I'm sitting there with my camera taking pictures, and I get a couple of pictures of her. Then she realizes I'm taking pictures of her. So you would think she just looked straight ahead, just have, you know, no expression on her face. No, she looked at me. You've shown the picture on your website before, looked straight at me and starts posing for the camera. I couldn't believe it. You got to be kidding me. A 14-year-old murder suspect, I mean, does she think this is a game? I mean, there was like an element of detachment since the beginning of this that's been my thought about her. There's something that's just not clicking.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, what do you think of that? Playing to James's camera inside the courtroom for her big moment of fame or infamy, however you want to term it. What does that tell you?
Yes, she wants to be famous for this. She wants, there's obviously some big grudge against her mother, something that has made it worth it for her to kill her. And you could go back and think possibly it started with the divorce. Possibly she didn't want to go with her mother. She wanted to go with her father. Perhaps she blames her mother for the divorce altogether. Perhaps her mother was dating the man who became her stepfather. Something that she blames her mother for the divorce for. Then also, the mother came to the school and she became the most popular teacher. And that took away some of the attention from Carly, who was the big, brilliant student and so on. I think that she resented her for that. Perhaps there was some sexual abuse by the stepfather, and she was feeling angry at the mother for not protecting her. I mean, there could be a number of reasons like that. But I think that she's proud of the fact that she killed her, whether to show her friend or to show the camera.
Right. And at this point, our guests are going to stay with us. And at this point, it's still not clear what was going on in the house, and there's no evidence of sexual assault or anything, but I think that's a big part of this story. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as our investigation continues. I'm Vinnie Politan. As we continue our investigation of 15-year-old Carly Gregg, I have to admit, this one confuses me a little bit. Carly Gregg is accused of murder. And in most cases where children are accused of murder, when you try to figure out what motivated it, right, the why behind it, it's usually pretty obvious. Children are in these situations usually a little more simple. It's a little more obvious, but this one seems to be more nuanced. Here's the story.
Carly Gregg was, by all accounts, a really smart teenager who skipped a grade and won awards at school, where her mom was one of the teachers. But all wasn't right with Carly, who allegedly walked into her mom's bedroom and shot her to death, and then invited a friend over to see her mom's dead body. Carly also allegedly shot her stepfather, who miraculously survived. And now, Carly is in our system of justice as everyone tries to figure out how this all could have happened.
The survival of Carly's stepfather, crucial part in understanding this case and also getting to the truth of what happened here. I want you to take a listen to testimony from investigator Zachary Cotton, who is describing what Carly's stepfather saw in the moment that he is confronted by Carly, who has a gun in her hand.
When he said when he walked in, he was met with a gunshot, and that he wrestled over the firearm, and that Carly had fallen backwards, and that her eyes were really big, and he said it looked like she had seen a demon or something to that effect, and she was screaming and ran off.
Did Mr. Tonelli also make statements to you regarding Carly didn't seem to recognize him?
It's something that he said he believed that at the time that he thought that maybe she had thought that there was someone trying to break into the house, something to that effect.
And the stepfather talked about saying, listen, it's me, Carly, it's me, as if she didn't necessarily recognize him. And again, when he looked at her, he saw her eyes, and it was as if she had seen a demon. Which brings me to a really big question in this case. Why would she do this? Look at her. She's 15 in this picture, but she looks like she's 10. Let me bring in my guests. the Mississippi blogger known as Jackson Jambalaya, who has been on the case since day one. James Hendricks, and also with us, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. James, I'll start with you. The stepfather survived. He described what he saw. How did he survive this?
Like I said earlier, she just wasn't that accurate with her shot, unfortunately. I think what happened was she's using a revolver. They have very heavy trigger pulls. If you fired weapons before, it's not as light as a semi-automatic. So she just wasn't accurate with it, thank goodness, and she didn't kill him. She hit him in the, I think, the shoulder instead of the head where she was trying to hit him.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, the thing that strikes me, Dr. Carol Lieberman, is that look in her eyes, as if she had just seen a demon. Does that tell you anything about what's going on and why she may have done this?
Well, the first thing that it makes me think of is that perhaps he was the demon. Perhaps when she saw him, all of the things, again, there's no, I don't have proof of this, but apparently she has told at least one friend, though, and the police supposedly investigated about her stepfather abusing her. The police didn't find anything, but she told at least one person that he was abusing her in some way. So perhaps he was the demon. It's like, here you are, you know, you're the person who's been doing all of this. You've been the demon towards me.
Now, there's another piece to this puzzle that I want to bring up right now, and I think it may be a very big piece. Let's take a listen to the investigator talking here about medication. Medication that Carly Gregg, again, 14 years old, was taking or stopped taking. Let's listen.
To your knowledge, what medication was Carly taking at the time of the incident?
Your Honor, I object as to relevance.
Your Honor, goes to argument for law.
Okay.
At the initial date that this occurred, there was no knowledge of her taking medication. At the time that she was arrested, it was later found out that she had been on some prescription medication.
And do you know what prescription medication that was?
Not all of it. I believe she had been taking Lexapro.
And do you know how long she'd been taking Lexapro for?
It was, to my understanding, she had changed it at the end of the week beforehand, but not sure the exact date.
Okay, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Lexapro. What would a child be taking that for, number one? And number two, is there any adverse effect if you are taking a medication like that and then stop taking that medication?
There could be a lot of problems with it. Well, except first, I want to just say a lot of times people want to blame medications like Lexapro or antidepressants, or Lexapro is given for anxiety or depression or depression. And to be honest, the people just, it's kind of one of those medications that if you're not really sure what's going on, you give them Lexapro. That in itself could be a problem, obviously, but yes, if you're supposed to, if you know, there are different reports. One is that she was on the Lexapro and then she changed to something else, and then there have been other reports that she was on something else and then they changed her to Lexapro. So I don't know what the order of this. But when you change medication, you do have to do it very carefully. You have to titrate one medication down slowly and then begin the other one more, slowly as well. So, for example, if she was on Lexapro and really she had some kind of psychosis and should have been on a medication that was an antipsychotic, because in fact they're saying that in the jail she's been hearing voices. So, her psychiatric background is not very clear at this point. One, because the records, they haven't really done a full evaluation, particularly in regard to not guilty by reason of insanity. But there are records from different places where she was getting treatment, and so we don't know that yet. That is something that is being put together by the defense.
James, is there any more information regarding her mental status, either as a young child or closer to the time of the shooting?
Not really, but I'd like to add something to what she said. And if she wants to discuss this, feel free to. Her attorneys testified in court that she had switched to Lexapro 5 days before the murder. My question is everybody's assuming, well, maybe the Lexapro caused it to happen. What about her withdrawal? They said she was using another drug before. What about withdrawal from the previous drug created these feelings within her? I don't know. She's the expert. What do you think, Doc?
Well, yes, it certainly could be something where it was the switching over was not done properly, but it also could be something that she was on an antipsychotic before, and then some doctor in his wisdom thought, oh, well, she doesn't need an antipsychotic. Let's just give her Lexapro. And she really did need an antipsychotic. So I don't know, but that's something that does happen sometimes.
And how important, Dr. Carol Lieberman, is that issue and determining the medications and determining the amounts and how you go from one medication to the other? Could that be sort of the linchpin in trying to understand what was going on inside of her mind?
That plus whatever her real diagnosis is.
So,
Vinnie?
Go ahead, James. We have information on that?
I'd like to add to what she was saying, because I think you hit on something, and it went on in court today, which is this is why the judge and the prosecution was getting aggravated with the defense. The defense has yet to provide them with any medical records whatsoever. In fact, Judge Arthur says, look, if she's suffering from a mental illness, from medication, we need to know that, because she may not need to be in jail if that's the case. But we don't know that if you're not giving this to us. So, and they first asked them to provide their medical records several months ago. The attorney, one of her defense attorneys, pretty much blew off the order, and the two judges now have admonished them for that. But the whole argument today was over the fact that the defense has still not provided any discovery whatsoever, and it's due by the close of business tomorrow. Now, why that's important also is they were talking about plea offers. Now, if you're going to discuss this later, just let me know.
Oh, we will. We're going to get deep into that in just a moment.
Okay, I'll go back to that, okay? You get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I want to take a look at this, because the defense made a motion for a bond reduction, and there's some facts here, Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want you to take into consideration. We're trying to figure out the why of this, because it's clear that she was smart. Carly was an honor roll student of the year at Northwest Rankin High School prior to her arrest. The mind of a child who is extremely smart, but may be suffering from some condition, how do those two things mix together? Do they reveal anything about the child?
Well, it mix together in a number of different ways. One way is that a child who's super intelligent can try to hide some of the signs of mental illness. Another way that it could mask or mesh together is that, which I think might be the case here, is that you don't expect a child who's that intelligent to have mental illness, but certainly they can. And, you know, I just want to say, I was watching that today, too, about what happened in court. I'm kind of disappointed in the defense, because they seem to be letting this mental illness aspect get away from them. You know, I don't know why they let the prosecution be the one to hire a mental health expert to evaluate for competency. Why didn't they have? I mean, usually that both sides have a psychiatrist or a psychologist evaluate for competency. I don't know why the defense just let that go. And now also, yes, they're letting their psychiatrists, you know, take too long to give some kind of a report. And yes, it's a woman, a psychologist, was on the stand, and she said that she has sort of recused herself in a way, because since medications play such a role, it's really something that a psychiatric expert witness would deal with.
Exactly. And as we try to get to the answer of why this happened, it seems that is the missing piece, is the history, the psychotic history, the exact medicine, what the diagnosis, and then ultimately what her state of mind was on that day? And those questions, I believe, still remain unanswered. So I don't know if we can answer that question right now, but I do want to thank Dr. Carol Lieberman for joining us, giving us great insight as always. James is going to stay with us because I know he wants to get in on this. Coming up next, how should the system treat her?
It only goes a couple of ways. If a jury finds that she's guilty and fixes the punishment, life is life.
WNBA is on IR this week. Features an Eastern Conference matchup as the Chicago Sky face off against the Connecticut Sun, followed by a Western Conference showdown between the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces. Coverage starts Friday at 7. Check local listings for games in your area. IR, it's on.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Weeknights, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
She is 15 years old. Her mental maturity and physical maturity, her present mental state, I've heard no adverse information concerning that at this point, although I do note that it has been brought to the attention of the court that you have an excellent academic record, which is good, but I've had nothing negative up to today, which we may have more information presented today. The other criteria, the nature and circumstances of the alleged offense, obviously a murder charge and attempted murder charge are extremely violent charges, and they are held in the most serious of circumstances here.
The judge there really putting a lot of perspective on the case of Carly Gregg, right? She's young, she's 15. She does well in school. Well, she's smart, she's achieving in school. Right? She's sitting down, she's getting work done, doing what students and children are supposed to do, right? But on the other hand, these are really serious charges. Murder of your mother, attempted murder of your stepfather. So this case, you know, putting some context into this case as to what could happen here, the judge also laid that out in court. Let's take a listen.
This only goes a couple of ways. If a jury finds that she's guilty and fixes the punishment, life is life. If they can't fix the punishment, I have to decide. It's a minimum of 20 to 40 years. If the jury finds her not guilty by reason of insanity, she goes to Whitfield for some indeterminate period of time. Could be a week, could be 10 years, don't know. But come this Thursday, Ms. Gregg needs to understand it's out of her control. The state needs to understand you're not coming to me after the deadline and saying, well, we'd like to plead her to 25, 30 years. I'm not doing that. This Thursday, 5 o'clock, she's either going to enter a pretrial conference checklist or a guilty plea petition. I don't care which it is. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Is that clear to the defense? It is, sir. All right. Do we have anything further? Last time on state.
Nothing for the state.
By the defense. Nothing. All right. We'll be in recess.
There's a couple different ways this can go as we look at Carly Gregg inside the courtroom. I mean, you're talking about the rest of your life behind bars. You're talking about potentially being put into a facility for an indeterminate amount of time. Completely different outcomes. Will there be some agreement between the prosecution and defense? You know, that brings me to my next question, and I think it's a real important one as we watch her walk out of that courtroom. Again, she's 15, murder, attempted murder, looks like she's 10 years old. So let's get to that next question, which is really the ultimate question for our system of justice, which is how should the system treat her in light of the things that are going in different directions? Her youth, her intellect, her potential mental problems that she has as well, in light of the charges, which are as serious as they get. Still with me, James Hendricks, and joining us, Chief Public Defender, Oakland County, Michigan, who represented the Oxford school shooter. Paulette Lofton is with us. Paulette, I'll begin with you. your initial take on this case and how our system, like I believe it's all of our system, right? It's the public system. How should they treat someone like this who is now 15, was 14, may have some sort of a history here? What are your thoughts?
These facts sound eerily similar. This is so difficult, and judges across the nation are struggling with it. Adolescent brain science is very new. It was recently just argued in the Supreme Court. At 14 years old, she's an adolescent. She's not even a teenager. And the studies that have been done on the difference between an adolescent's brain and an adult brain really make strong arguments for judges to consider not imposing a life sentence. Because what do we do with adolescents like this? We are going to just throw the key away for the rest of their life. It's such a hard call because, yes, in this case, there are really, really difficult facts. The lying in wait, the fact that she was intelligent, that she was smart, the fact that she called her friend over and was even bragging about it. So there are really difficult facts. I'm hoping that they do not choose to go to trial on this. It does sound like the prosecutor may offer something, which I definitely think would be her best bet. But again, what happens? We send her to prison, you get minimal counseling, you're given medication there, but are you really rehabilitated? And I don't think there's a good answer. I don't think the United States has a good answer for people of this age who commit crimes like she did.
James, let me ask you about locally. You have your hand on the pulse of the community. Is there clamoring for one result versus another in this case?
Everything I hear from my readers, from the public out there, is if she's guilty, then she should be in prison for a long time, probably life. We had a case, you remember 25 years ago, Luke Woodham. He was the first school shooter. Remember him? Pearl High School. And he was only 17 years old, killed 4 people, including his own mother in that case, burned his dog to death. And guess what? He's serving life now, thanks to the Supreme Court. He has a chance at parole, but he'll never get it. I mean, she's raising good points, but there's a flip side here, okay? We're looking at life, but remember a couple of years ago over in D.C. where these 2 girls, they were in their teens, killed the cab driver. He was a father, I think grandfather, and by the time they turn 21, they're going to be set free, slate's wiped clean. Nobody wants to see that either. So there's a balance somewhere. Also, she is given a bond for $1 million. Most of the time in Rankin County, murder suspects don't get bonds. Just saying.
We have about 20 seconds here, Paulette. What are your thoughts about the possibility of a mental disease or defect type of defense? Do you think something like that could happen in this case?
I do think it could happen. It is a pretty high bar, especially if they don't have a defense expert secured yet or had already reached this decision or opinion, which if the deadline is so soon, you would definitely think that that expert would already have a report and the court and the prosecutor would already be reviewing it. But definitely the fact that she has a history of mental health issues, she was on medication, I definitely think it is a possibility. All right, Paulette Lofton, appreciate your insight. James Hendricks, great reporting. Thank you so much for helping us out through this story. As Paulette said, there's a cry in our society to not just throw away the key when a child commits the ultimate crime. But there's also, I think, a little bit of a balance here, right? You have to balance the punishment versus the safety of the community. You also have to balance the treatment of the child versus the safety of society. I just hope they strike the right balance, and perhaps it'll be an agreement, or maybe a jury will do that. In the meantime, I'm Vinnie Politan. You know we'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.